what, in your opinion, then, are the qualities of a good wife?
Knowing when to keep your mouth shut. What?
Oh, I told you guys, she is a straight shooter. She tells it like it is. I like that. Can we dive into that a little bit?
Absolutely.
Congratulations, men. We have somebody on our side. No, I'm joking.
I have seen, and I am guilty, full on, of not knowing when to just stop. And I'm not saying it's like an argument or anything like that, but sometimes I don't need to say anything. And I think that goes to the part of respecting your husband. God did things intentionally, and he made Adam first. And he brought Eve from Adam. So Adam is the head of the household. Eve is walking alongside of him, not to overpower him or to make it so that she knows best. We're going to be honest. To me, she's the cause of sin. She went over and above Adam and sinned, did exactly what God said not to do. So the whole, I'm sorry, I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, being submissive, that too, women take that, they just take it wrong. I'm sorry, there's no other word for it, there's wrong. When I was reading Ephesians, because of course it's, wives, submit to your husband. Okay, wives, submit yourselves to your husbands. But in verse 21, it was submit to one another out of deep respect of Christ. So if you put that, a woman submits to her husband, she's submitting to Christ. If you look at the big picture. And then I jumped into verse 22, and okay, wives, submit yourselves to your husbands. How many times has it just stopped there?
That's true. I know a lot of people that get like they hang on to that one verse without looking at the entire picture of what.
And what's the end? As you do to the Lord. So if I am submitting to my husband and respecting him the way he deserves to be respected, then I am showing reverence to God. And to me, that's, take even just husband or spouse out of the picture and say, okay, if I'm respecting God, this is how I'm treating my husband. Maybe switch that a little bit. Okay, is this how I'm going to talk to God?
Ooh, man.
And that was my big thing, because I was thinking a lot about that last night, and that just kept, as you do to the Lord. Okay. So when I do that, when I disrespect him and I'm going to go one further, because then I went back to Proverb 31. And women, we do a lot. A lot. But that in turn is showing our husbands, look, we've got your back. You are the head of our household, and that's the way it should be. So I want to do everything I can to put you up here, to let everybody see you are the head of our household. And through you, God is blessing our family. And I'm not saying, a husband, you go over there and do that, and you don't come out of that room. No. That's disrespectful.
That's true.
And that is not what God has put into place.
And that's not loving your wife.
No, exactly. And wives, don't turn around and talk to your husbands like that. Don't. And especially in front of people. That is a peeve of mine, that we won't even go down that road.
Yeah, and I feel like we live in an age of social media where there's almost an intentional emasculation of men by their wives.
Absolutely.
And I don't know where that stems from, where people have this concept that a wife is allowed to be disrespectful, to almost bludgeon her man to death and still reap all the rewards that she should reap from a wife that is quote unquote submissive. You know, and Kendra, as you're well aware, is a stay-at-home mom. She homeschools our kids. And for me, the fact that she can take her energy and her time and pour that into our children to give them an education, to grow them up in reverence of the Lord, and, you know, to understand the Bible. Our daughter loves the Bible, and it's because my wife loves the Bible, right? She sees that. And the fact that my wife takes care of our home and she does all that stuff, that to me, when I walk about and I talk to people, I am so in love and I'm so appreciative of the fact that my wife is willing to do that. And I know everyone isn't able to do that, whether it's finances or that may not be someone's personality. But as her husband, I look at that and I'm like, I am so proud to be able to do whatever it takes to make sure that that woman has what she needs, and that I can show her the love, because that's a form of her respecting me, is taking care of our kids, taking care of our home. But she also doesn't bludgeon me over the head. Now, when I need to be, yeah, she does. When I need to be bludgeoned over the head, that's one thing, but
still in a respectful way.
In a respectful way, yeah. And that's the thing. Like, she's willing to say, hey, Canel, I don't think that's the right thing to do. Or you could get better at this. But because she's shown me respect, I can take that a little bit better. If she was the type of person that constantly berated me and treated me like trash in front of other people, I don't think I would take that feedback as well. And so I love the fact that you're saying, like, sometimes it's the idea of just saying, okay, who am I serving in this moment? Am I serving myself? Or am I serving Jesus? Because serving Jesus may mean not saying anything. And that goes for the men too. Like and for us, it may be serving Jesus may mean speaking up.
Not being the one who is just like timid and, and nothing wrong with that at times. But God puts you at the head of the house for a reason. I mean, He designed it that way. He designed us that way. So when you talk about being a wife being submissive, it's not being degraded. It's not being, not taking a back seat to everything, because there's plenty in the Bible that women have done, and God has enabled them to do that. And then you also see the appreciation from the men in the Bible of everything the women are doing.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny you talk about that, because in Jewish culture, women didn't have as many rights as women have today. But the main thing is, a woman could not be used as a witness for testimony.
Okay.
Right? That was not a thing. It had to be a man doing that. But look at what happens in the Bible. The women went to the tomb first. The women brought back the news that Jesus was no longer there. And they were believed. So right then and there in the Bible, it shows the power of the woman in that situation. But it was because they built that respect and that admiration for the disciples and, for the apostles, rather, that their word was actually acknowledged. If they weren't, and it wasn't their husbands, but if they weren't women that were preparing the way, laying the foundation, I don't think they would have made it into those words. I don't think Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John would have even acknowledged the fact that they were the first ones to bring the news. They would have skirt right over it. But because Mary Magdalene and the other women were able to lay down roots in the hearts of those men and say, we are traveling with you. We're going to support you guys. We're going to be part of this ministry. Their names will be recorded and have been recorded for the rest of time.
Right.
And I think that's a huge thing to remember. Like, you know, Proverbs 31 has it there, but also understanding the history behind that era of time where women weren't seen as equal partners, but somehow God still used them to bring the good news.
They were quiet. They were quietly involved. They didn't have to be that voice of, or that voice even, just that domineering voice, which it tends to get that way. It tends to, women just want that. And I don't understand why, but it's just I don't want to get off topic. The whole submission thing I did want to address because I don't want women to see it in the way, I don't want them to take it out of context. Read the Bible, read the verses, like dissect each word. One of the best connect groups we did, we literally took one scripture and dissected it word for word. And then you put in the definition where the word was. And it was eye-opening to me. So the submissive part of this with being a wife is not, how do you say this? It's not that you're not equal to your husband. You're a female.
Okay.
A man's a man, a female's a female. I'm sorry if I'm hurting anybody's feelings, but that's not an equal thing to me. You're two totally different beings.
That's true.
So going back to God's creation, he set that up in that way. He didn't pull another man from Adam. He made a woman. And that is for her to just be there with him for a companion. And also, I mean, take charge of things, absolutely, but not to subdue your husband, not to make him the lesser. That's the part that I think now, especially in today's age, that women feel a need that they have been downplayed and that their voices didn't matter for so long. So it's okay to make yourself heard and feel strongly about anything, any type of group or can't think of the word. Words are not in my head right now. But just be passionate about that. That's God gave you that passion. Women are more passionate than men. Women are more emotional, like you were saying about Kendra, and that's a known fact. But working those two together in your marriage, I'll say it again, don't feel like you have to be better than your spouse, but also don't feel like you're not as good as your spouse. So if you intentionally talk about things like that, your relationship is just going to be, it's going to go to an extreme that you never thought was possible.